Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. If you're like most of us and are wondering which 4-star characters should I invest into, then this is probably the video for you. I'll be talking about the 8 best 4-star free-to-play friendly characters to build, in my opinion, in Honkai Star Rail. Now, as was mentioned about 8 seconds ago, this is, of course, my opinion on the 8 best 4-star characters to build. For each of these 4-star characters, I'll be talking about their pros, some of their cons, and whether or not you should build them, and perhaps how future-proof I think they are. Since we're all able to get a guaranteed 5-star standard banner character, I will talk about them if they happen to be great alternatives and a reason for you not to build a character on this list. Number 8 on this list is one of the 4-star characters that we get thanks to 10 million pre-registrations, which is absolutely insane. That character is Serval. Serval is currently the best AoE lightning breaker, and an interesting little tidbit about Honkai Star Rail is that some of the enemies, like robots, tend to share a common weakness. Robots tend to be weak to lightning, and there are quite a few robots in this game that you will fight regularly. Serval is also fairly reliant on her DOT damage, which lasts for 2 turns. This means that you're able to weave in basic attacks as well to make Serval a much more skill point friendly character, and her very accessible Eidolon 1 allows her to hit 2 targets with her basic attack, which doubles her ability to break lightning toughness with just her basic attacks. Her skill hits 3 targets, and her ultimate hits all the targets. So as you can see, this character is designed to break lightning in a fantabulous AoE fashion. Now, why might you not want to build Serval? Serval has particularly bad single target DPS, and honestly, single target DPS is very valuable. Also, the next featured 5-star character, Jingyuan, looks to be very powerful, and he's also an AoE lightning character, which will basically power creep Serval. So if you're planning on going for Jingyuan, I personally would think twice about building Serval. Lastly, if you prefer Arlen, well, we don't really need 2 lightning DPSs on our account right now in my opinion, or at least I don't think that's the best investment of our resources, so yeah. Up next is the only completely free healer in the game, Natasha. Especially in the early game, healing is just such a great quality of life. Now you don't need to worry about taking a few stray hits here and there, you're able to effortlessly heal off that damage thanks to our Omega Doctor waifu. However, one of her biggest weaknesses is that she provides no additional offensive utility outside of the standard light cones and relic. Now, why might you not want to build Natasha? If you do have Bailu, especially in the early game, it's hard to justify building Natasha right off the bat. However, in the mid game, when we start tackling Forgotten Halls 11 through 15, where we need 2 teams, Natasha is still great to build, at least for now. And finally, there will absolutely be more healers added to the game, so if you're holding out for other healers, and especially if you got Bailu, then you might want to wait on building Natasha. Our calendar-inspired March 7th is number 6 on this list. March 7th is an all-around great shielder, and she happens to work even better, interestingly, with another shielder, as her counter attack will trigger anytime any character on your team with a shield is hit. March 7th is also a great teammate with Clara specifically, as she can increase Clara's aggro and thus Clara's damage output. March 7th also has a very powerful AoE freeze on her ultimate, which can allow you to actually cheese many fights in this game by bypassing one of the hardest mechanics, which is taking damage and surviving. So yeah, I do recommend building March 7th in particular if you do have Clara. Now if you don't have Bailu or Gepard, and you're reaching Forgotten Halls 11 through 15 where you need 2 teams, March 7th will be an invaluable addition as you desperately need that additional survivability. But as we can see, as we add additional shielders and healers, we can see that a character like March 7th's value does go down. So interestingly, my point here is that if you have Bailu, which pretty much solves survivability for your second team, you might not actually want to build March 7th. The 5th most free-to-play friendly character in my opinion is Pella. Pella covets the currently rare defense shred on her ultimate, and it has perfect AoE which hits all enemies, and 100% base chance to inflict exposed on the enemy, which lowers their defense. And since her basic attack, skill, and ultimate all deal ice damage, Pella is a reasonable icebreaker as well. And since Pella is mainly an ultimate spamming bot, you can spam her basic attacks otherwise to generate skill points. And while I haven't experimented much with it, Pella's skill can actually remove a buff from an enemy. This might have some really interesting applications that can trivialize some fights, although I'm personally not quite sure when to use it yet. Finally, Nihility as a path also has a really nice light cone, which is the resolution shines as pearls of sweat, as this can increase your entire team's damage just by shredding defense by hitting an enemy. Now, why might you not want to build Pella? Well, honestly, if you don't need another damage amplifier, or perhaps you're short on damage dealers. And there is definitely an overlap on ice breaking utility with other ice characters like March 7th, Gepard, and even Herta should you choose to build Herta. The number 4th best friendly free-to-play character is our boy Dan Heng. Dan Heng is surprisingly a great single-target DPS character and can actually match some of the other hunt characters in damage output in certain situations. He has a slow on his skill, and his ultimate deals tons of bonus damage to an enemy with slow on them. Dan Heng is also great against neutral enemies thanks to his resistance penetration from his talent. He also has access to a great free-to-play friendly 5-star light cone cruising in the Stellar Sea. Now, why might you not want to build Dan? Honestly, one of the reasons that I've personally felt like is that I don't feel like I've really needed a windbreaker in most situations, especially in comparison to other elements like perhaps physical and fire. Also, if you do need wind breaking prowess, Sampo is also really good for that. For raw breaking alone, I would say Sampo's actually better for that. And if you're already investing into other great hunt characters like Seilei or Su Shang, then you might want to hold off on building Dan Heng. And the third best free-to-play friendly character to invest into is, in my opinion, Su Shang. Su Shang is incredible for breaking physical gauges thanks to her high speed and free turn after her ultimate. And physical break deals the most damage, so you can see why this is incredibly valuable. Not only that, but Su Shang can be built for doing high amounts of raw DPS as well. Similar to Dan, she has access to the great 5-star light cone in Herta's shop, and her rather accessible Eidolon 1 helps solve her skill point consumption issue. And there are a ton of dangerous early game and mid game enemies that are weak to physical, namely a lot, but not all, of the human type enemies. So similar to Dan though, if you are building other great hunt characters, you don't really need more than one built hunt character in the early game in my opinion. However, in the mid game it's hard to go wrong with building your Su Shang, as she will really help you in Forgotten Hall. But also if you do have Clara, and Clara's playstyle suits your style more, which is a counter-based playstyle, then perhaps you might want to hold off on building Su Shang. The second most free-to-play friendly character is the Fire Trailblazer. Now, I know technically the Fire Trailblazer is a 5-star character, but I've always counted like the Traveler or the Trailblazer as a 4-star character in all honesty. Anyway, I think at this point, very few of you are surprised to see our Fire MC on this list. She shields everyone literally just by doing anything, and she is one of the best AoE fire breakers in the game. Being able to do an AoE fire break with her enhanced basic attack, and having an ultimate that hits everything and deals a ton of break damage. She even has a perfect taunt, which is one of the best defensive abilities in the game, and also can help her build up her ultimate for even more ultimate breaking AoE fire prowess. Fire Trailblazer is surprisingly overtuned for a completely free main character. Now, when might you not want to build Fire Trailblazer? I'd say if you did get Gepard and you prefer building him over the MC, then you can consider not building the Fire Trailblazer. Now, when it comes to Gepard versus the Fire Trailblazer, they actually both have their place, and it's hard to say that one completely outclasses the other. So yeah, that's actually how crazy good. It's not that Gepard isn't good, it's that the Fire Trailblazer is just that good. And finally, the best 4-star free-to-play friendly character, if you do happen to get her, is Tingyuan. Yep, this character is just ridiculously overtuned. She provides a sizable attack buff with her skill, a bonus damage buff with her, and 50 energy for that ally, and a rather accessible Eidolon 1 even provides 20% speed as well. This is one of the most stacked kits in the entire game. Now her biggest weakness is that she's not great at breaking enemies' lightning gauges, which is when a character like Serval would be much more valuable. Unfortunately, she's not a completely free-to-play friendly character, as many players won't get lucky to get her, but if you do get her, it's hard to justify not building her unless you just hate fluffy tails and fluffy ears. So there you go, my top 8 free-to-play friendly characters to invest into. Let me know what you think about my choices and if you agree or disagree with it. Be sure to also gently click on that subscribe button for more Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact content. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.